Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep. Welcome to the daily quiz discussion for the 26th of October 2022. Before we begin, an important announcement. Today, join us at 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel for the 91st episode of the International Relations this week. This session will be handled by our expert faculty, Chetan sir. Also, a gentle reminder that Byju's Exam Prep is now on Telegram. Join the group now to get regular updates on our current affairs initiatives. You can join the group either by scanning the QR code given here or by using the link given in the description box below. Beginning with the first question of the day. It reads, consider the following statements about Competition Commission of India or CCI for short. There are three question statements given here. The first one reads, it is a statutory body constituted based on the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969. The second statement reads, the commission consists of a chairperson and not more than 6 members appointed by the union government. And the last statement reads, the orders passed by the CCI are final and binding and cannot be challenged. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now, what is the context? These articles from both the Indian Express as well as the PIB take note of the Competition Commission of India imposing a penalty on Google for abusing its dominant market position with respect to its Play Store policies. Apart from imposing the fine, the Competition Commission of India has also issued a cease and desist order and directed Google to modify its conduct within a defined timeline. And one of the major recommendations made by the Competition Commission of India to Google is to allow the mobile app developers to use third-party payment services on its App Store. Coming back to the question, consider the first statement. Note, though the Competition Commission of India is indeed a statutory body, it is not based on the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, but on the Competition Act 2002. Note, the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act or the MRTP Act was repealed and replaced by the Competition Act 2002 on the recommendations of the Raghavan Committee. Note, the Competition Commission of India is a quasi-judicial body. The first statement is wrong. Next, consider the second statement. This statement is correct. That is, the commission can consist of a chairperson and maximum 6 other members appointed by the union government. Please note, currently the Competition Commission of India consists of a chairperson and 2 other members. Consider the third statement. This statement is wrong. Why? Because the orders passed by the Competition Commission of India can be challenged. Please note, based on the Competition Amendment Act of 2007, we had the establishment of the Competition Appellate Tribunal. This was established to hear and dispose of appeals against any direction issued or decision made or order passed by the Competition Commission of India. This Competition Appellate Tribunal was further replaced by the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal in the year 2017. Hence, the third statement is wrong. Since the question asks for the correct statement, the answer to this question would be option B, 2 only. Moving on to the second question. The question reads, consider the following statements about Launch Vehicle Mark III or LMV3 of ISRO. There are two question statements given here. The first one reads, it recently carried the heaviest payload ever carried out by an Indian launch vehicle into space. The second statement reads, it uses solid fuels in the first stage, liquid fuels in the second stage, and cryogenic fuel in the upper stages. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now, what is the context? This article from the explained section of the Indian Express takes note of the successful launch of the LVM-3 OneWeb India mission. This launch carried almost 6 tons of payload into lower Earth orbit. This is the maximum that any ISRO mission has delivered into space till date. The LVM-3 rocket was previously referred to as the GSLV Mark III. It uses solid fuels in the lower as well as in the boosters to provide additional thrust during liftoff. It uses liquid fuels in the second stage and cryogenic fuels in the upper stages or the third stage. Coming back to the question, from our discussion, it becomes clear that both the statements are correct. And since the question asks for the correct statements, the answer to this question would be option C, both the statements. Next, moving on to the third question. The question reads, which of the following countries of Africa are landlocked? There are six countries given here. What are they? They are Ethiopia, Rwanda, South Sudan, Niger, Uganda, as well as Zimbabwe. Please look at the options given. Now, what is the context? This article from the Hindu takes note of the first formal African Union-led peace talks between the Ethiopian government as well as the Tigray forces since the war of 2020 broke out in northern Ethiopia. Coming back to the question, please have a look at the map given here. From this, it becomes clear that all of these countries are landlocked. Now let's have a look at their locations. Ethiopia, Rwanda, South Sudan, Niger, this would be Uganda, and Zimbabwe. All these countries are landlocked. Hence, the answer to this question would be option D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Similarly, other landlocked countries in Africa include Botswana, Zambia, Malawi, South African Republic, Chad, Mali and Burkina Faso. Map-based questions have been a regular feature of the UPSC prelims paper and hence an aspirant is expected to be aware of the location of those countries which are in news. Moving on to the fourth question. It reads, Mamani Food Festival and Apricot Blossom Festival are associated with which of the following states or union territories? The four options given here are Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Nagaland and Himachal Pradesh. Now, what is the context? This advertisement in today's The Indian Express, issued by the Administration of Union Territory of Ladakh, notes the upcoming Third Foundation Day, which would be celebrated on 31st October. In this context, the administration takes note of the tourism potential of the Union Territory of Ladakh and the efforts being taken up by the administration to promote this sector. Among the most notable initiatives have been the setting up of the country's first dark sky reserve at Hanle. This would help promote astrotourism in the Union Territory. Apart from that, new festivals such as Ladakh Zanskar Festival, Dras Ladakh Festival, Mamani Food Festival and Apricot Blossom Festival are being promoted by the administration. Mamani is the traditional food festival of Purig celebrated in Kargil. During this festival, different traditional food items prepared with local ingredients are presented. The Apricot Blossom Festival, also known as Chuli Mendok, is conducted during the apricot blossoming season to attract both national as well as international tourists. This festival is conducted in Kargil and Leh. Coming back to the question, from our discussion, it becomes clear that the answer to this question is option A, Ladakh. Next, moving on to the fifth question of the day. This is a question from the 2019 UPSC prelims paper. The question reads, consider the following statements. The first statement, Saint Nimbarka was a contemporary of Akbar. Statement 2, Saint Kabir was greatly influenced by Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Note, Saint Nimbarka was a Vaishnavite Bhakti saint. He preached in the present Telangana region. Please note, Saint Nimbarka was not a contemporary of Akbar. While Saint Nimbarka belonged to the 13th or 14th century, Akbar reigned during the 16th century. Hence, statement 1 is wrong. Consider the second statement. Note, Saint Kabir was a disciple of Ramananda. Saint Kabir was a proponent of Nirguna Bhakti. He lived during the 15th century, while Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi was an Islamic scholar of Naqshbandi Silsila, who lived during the 16th century. Hence, the second statement is also wrong. Since the question asks for the correct statements, the answer to this question would be option D, neither 1 nor 2. Next, moving on to the fact of the day, waste to energy plants. What is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express takes note of the waste to energy plants in India. Note, around 11,000 tons of municipal solid waste is generated every day in India. The scientific management of this waste hence gains immense importance. And in this context, the waste to energy plants are a welcome relief. Now, this municipal solid waste have a high calorific value. They have a calorific value of around 1500 kilocalories per kg. Now, this waste is burnt to generate heat, and this heat is used to run turbines, which in turn generate electricity. However, one of the major challenges with such energy generation systems is the emission of pollutants. The emission of the municipal solid waste give rise to many air pollutants. Now, how do we handle it? This is handled by deploying pollution control devices such as flue gas treatment as well as by regulating temperature in the combustion chamber. These measures help achieve the emission limits as prescribed in the Solid Waste Management Rules of 2016. This is all we have for today's discussion. Thank you for being with us.